Diana Ross has never said Beyoncé's name in an interview. Not once. Not in decades of press appearances, award shows, and public statements. When journalists ask Diana about the greatest female performers of today, Diana talks about her own legacy. When reporters mention comparisons between Diana and Beyoncé, Diana changes the subject. When the inevitable question comes, "What do you think of Beyoncé?" Diana's smile gets tight, and Diana says something vague about all the talented young people today. And that silence tells you everything Diana won't say out loud. Some of y'all have noticed this pattern. Diana Ross, who talk about Aretha Franklin and Tina Turner and other contemporaries, goes completely silent when Beyoncé's name enters the conversation. Diana, who's usually gracious about acknowledging other artists, suddenly has nothing specific to say. Diana, who understands the power of public statements, chooses to say nothing rather than offer the praise everyone expects. And in entertainment, silence isn't neutral. Silence is a statement. The relationship between Diana Ross and Beyoncé isn't really a relationship at all. It's a comparison. It's a narrative about generational passing. It's a story about what happens when your position as the greatest black female entertainer gets challenged by someone younger, more current, more dominant. And Diana, who spent 60 years building that position, isn't gracious about watching it slip away. Beyoncé represents everything Diana was and everything Diana isn't anymore. The biggest stages, the most prestigious performances, the cultural dominance, the ability to command attention globally, the Super Bowl halftime shows, the Coachella headlining, the historic Grammys, the visual albums, the cultural moments that define eras. All the things Diana did first, Beyoncé does bigger. And for Diana, watching must be complicated.
The comparison started early in Beyoncé's career. Destiny's Child was called the New Supremes. Beyoncé's solo career was positioned as following Diana's blueprint. Leave the girl group, become the breakout star, establish solo dominance. The parallels were obvious and intentional. Beyoncé's team understood that aligning with Diana's legacy gave Beyoncé credibility. What they didn't account for was how Diana might feel about being positioned as the predecessor to be surpassed. Some of y'all remember when those comparisons felt respectful, when calling Beyoncé the new Diana Ross seemed like honoring both women, when it appeared to be generational continuity. Diana passed the torch, Beyoncé carried it forward. But as Beyoncé's success grew beyond anything Diana achieved, the comparison stopped feeling like honor and started feeling like replacement. Started suggesting Diana's era was over. Started positioning Diana as history, while Beyoncé was present and future. The standard against which all black female entertainers were measured. Diana was the ceiling, the pinnacle, the ultimate achievement. Other artists could be great, but Diana was Diana Ross, unmatched, uncomparable, the queen. And then Beyoncé arrived and shattered that ceiling, achieved commercial success Diana never reached, cultural impact Diana couldn't match, global dominance that made Diana's accomplishments look limited by comparison. The generational shift became undeniable in the 2000s. Beyoncé headlined Super Bowl halftime shows, the most prestigious performance platform in American entertainment. Diana had performed there once in 1996, but Beyoncé's multiple halftime shows became cultural events. Coachella 2018, Beyoncé became legendary performance, discussed as perhaps the greatest live show in modern entertainment. Diana's concerts were spectacular, but nothing Diana did achieved that level of cultural saturation. Berry Gordy had trained Diana to be the greatest, had told Diana she was special, unique, incomparable, had built Motown's entire strategy around Diana's singular talent. Diana internalized that messaging. Diana believed she was the greatest black female entertainer of all time. And then Beyoncé arrived and revealed that greatest of all time is always temporary, always gets challenged, always gets surpassed. Some of y'all understand the psychological challenge of watching someone younger do what you did but better, of seeing your life's work become the foundation for someone else's greater achievement, of being respected as a legend but recognized as belonging to the past, of watching the culture move on without you. That's what Diana faces with Beyoncé, and Diana handles it by saying nothing at all. But what has Diana actually said when forced to address the comparison? And what does Diana's silence really mean? The few times Diana has been asked directly about Beyoncé, Diana's responses have been revealing in their careful emptiness. There are so many talented young artists today. I'm focused on my own legacy. I don't really follow current music. Each statement technically compliments young artists while saying absolutely nothing about Beyoncé specifically. Each response deflects rather than engages. Each answer protects Diana from having to acknowledge Beyoncé's greatness out loud. Some of y'all recognize this technique. When you can't say something negative without looking petty, you say nothing specific at all. When acknowledging someone's success feels like diminishing your own, you keep responses vague. When praise feels like surrender, you change the subject. Diana has mastered the art of the non-answer, giving journalists nothing they can quote as either praise or criticism of Beyoncé. The entertainment industry's treatment of the Diana-Beyoncé dynamic has been telling. Award shows don't put them in the same tribute segments. Television specials handle them separately. Industry events don't create moments forcing them to interact publicly. Everyone understands that pairing them would be awkward because Diana won't play the role of gracious elder stateswoman passing the torch. Diana won't give the blessing everyone wants her to. In 2005, when Destiny's Child announced their final album, reporters asked Diana about the comparisons. Diana's response was curt. The Supremes were the original. We created the blueprint. Technically true, also clearly defensive. The subtext was obvious. We came first, they followed. We're the standard, they're the imitators. Diana positioning the Supremes as superior by virtue of being first, refusing to acknowledge that Destiny's Child had achieved commercial success the Supremes never reached. Beyoncé, for her part, has always been respectful toward Diana, has cited Diana as an influence, has acknowledged the Supremes' importance, has never claimed to surpass Diana or diminish Diana's legacy. Beyoncé understands the politics of elder stateswoman respect, but Beyoncé's respectful statements make Diana's silence more conspicuous, makes Diana look petty when Beyoncé is gracious. The financial comparison reveals part of what's at stake. Diana's net worth is estimated around $250 million, extraordinary by any standard. Beyoncé's net worth exceeds $800 million and climbing. Diana was wealthy. Beyoncé is exponentially wealthier. Diana had hits. Beyoncé has had bigger hits. Every metric by which success is measured, Beyoncé has surpassed Diana, and Diana knows it. Some of y'all remember when Diana was the wealthiest black female entertainer, the most successful, the most celebrated. Remember when Diana was the ceiling. Watching Beyoncé shatter every record Diana set, achieve every milestone Diana reached, and then go further, that has to sting. That has to feel like displacement rather than generational continuity. The cultural conversation shifted in ways that must hurt Diana. When people discuss greatest performers, Beyoncé is mentioned first. When greatest female entertainer of all time debates happen, Beyoncé's name comes up more than Diana's. Diana is respected as a legend, but Beyoncé is discussed as the current greatest, present tense.
Diana is past tense. Diana spent decades controlling her narrative. Diana carefully cultivated the Miss Ross persona, regal, untouchable, supreme. Diana's entire identity was built around being the greatest, and now the culture has moved that title to someone else. Diana can't control that narrative, can't manage how history judges her relative to Beyoncé, can't protect herself from being seen as the predecessor who's been surpassed. The silence, then, is self-protection. If Diana praises Beyoncé lavishly, it feels like conceding. If Diana criticizes Beyoncé, Diana looks bitter. If Diana says nothing, people can interpret the silence however they want. But Diana doesn't have to say out loud that someone is greater than Diana Ross. Diana chooses silence as the least painful option. Some of y'all have been in situations where you couldn't win no matter what you said, where silence was the only way to avoid making things worse. That's where Diana is with Beyoncé. Diana's silence isn't mysterious, it's strategic self-preservation, but it's also revealing. It tells us Diana feels threatened, Diana feels displaced, Diana resents the comparison even if Diana won't admit it. The generational passing in Black female entertainment has been brutal for the women being replaced. Aretha Franklin struggled with it when younger singers emerged. Tina Turner handled it with more grace, celebrating Beyoncé publicly. Patti LaBelle acknowledged younger talent while maintaining confidence. But Diana Ross, Diana can't seem to do either. Can't celebrate Beyoncé without feeling diminished, can't maintain confidence without diminishing others. Some of y'all watched how different legends handled becoming history. Some embrace it, become elder stateswomen. Some maintain their own work while graciously acknowledging new talent. Some retreat, focusing on their own legacy. Diana has chosen retreat and silence, has chosen to act as if Beyoncé doesn't exist rather than acknowledge Beyoncé's impact. The comparison isn't entirely fair to Diana. Diana and Beyoncé operated in different eras with different music industries. Diana succeeded when Black female entertainers faced barriers Beyoncé didn't encounter. Diana broke ground Beyoncé walked on. Comparing them directly ignores historical context that makes Diana's accomplishments more impressive relative to her era. But cultural conversations don't care about context. The question is simple: who's greater? And increasingly, the answer is Beyoncé. Not because Diana wasn't extraordinary, Diana was, but because Beyoncé has achieved more measurable success by metrics the culture uses. More albums sold, bigger tours, more cultural impact, greater wealth. The numbers favor Beyoncé, and numbers are how greatness gets measured in commercial entertainment. Diana's legacy should be secure regardless of Beyoncé. Diana's place in history as a pioneer, that's unassailable. But legacy security and feeling secure are different things. Diana can intellectually know her legacy is safe while emotionally feeling threatened by Beyoncé's dominance. Berry Gordy's training created this problem. Berry told Diana she was the greatest, most special, most important. Berry built Diana's identity around supremacy. Berry never prepared Diana for the inevitable moment when someone younger would surpass her. Berry created a Diana Ross who couldn't handle not being supreme anymore. And now Diana is stuck with an identity that requires her to be the greatest, facing a reality where she demonstrably isn't anymore. Some of y'all understand how damaging it is to build your entire identity around being the best. Diana spent 60 years being the greatest Black female entertainer. That wasn't just her job, it was her identity. Beyoncé taking that position isn't just professional displacement for Diana, it's existential threat. The younger generation doesn't understand why this matters so much to Diana. Why can't Diana just be happy for Beyoncé? Why can't Diana celebrate rather than sulk? But younger folks didn't live through Diana's era, don't understand how completely Diana's identity was wrapped up in being incomparable, don't recognize how much Diana sacrificed relationships, friendships, humanity to maintain that position. Diana chose supremacy over everything else, chose being the greatest over being liked, chose solo success over the Supremes, chose career over personal relationships, chose image over authenticity. Diana paid enormous prices to be supreme, and now, after all those sacrifices, someone else is more supreme. The sacrifices feel wasted. The prices paid feel too high. No wonder Diana won't praise Beyoncé. Praising Beyoncé would mean admitting the sacrifices weren't worth it. The cultural impact comparison is particularly painful. Diana's biggest cultural moments are historical references. Beyoncé's cultural moments are current references, shaping contemporary culture. Diana shaped the past. Beyoncé shapes the present. That difference must be devastating for Diana to watch. Some of y'all have watched your own influence fade as younger people take your place, have seen your contributions become history while someone else's become current, have felt the sting of being respected but no longer relevant, have experienced the shift from greatest working to greatest of her era. That qualifier, of her era, is what Diana can't accept, because of her era means the era is over, means Diana belongs to history, means Diana is no longer supreme in present tense.
Diana Ross is 80 years old now. Beyoncé is 43. The generational gap is obvious and unbridgeable. Diana's performing career is winding down. Beyoncé's is at peak. Diana's legacy is being written. Beyoncé's is still being built. Diana's cultural relevance is historical. Beyoncé's is current. The comparison isn't between equals anymore. It's between legend and active queen, and Diana knows it. What does Diana really think about Beyoncé? Probably that Beyoncé is extraordinarily talented. Probably that Beyoncé works incredibly hard. Probably that Beyoncé deserves the success she's achieved, but also probably that it's not fair, that Diana did it first, that Diana's achievements were more impressive given the barriers Diana faced, that Diana deserves more recognition for pioneering what Beyoncé perfected, that Diana's legacy shouldn't be overshadowed just because Beyoncé came along and did it bigger. Some of y'all understand that Diana's feelings about Beyoncé can be complicated and contradictory, can simultaneously respect Beyoncé's talent and resent Beyoncé's success, can acknowledge Beyoncé's achievements while feeling those achievements diminish Diana's, can know intellectually that both women can be great while feeling emotionally that Beyoncé's greatness threatens Diana's. Human beings contain contradictions. Diana probably does too. The tragedy is that Diana's silence prevents healing. If Diana could publicly acknowledge Beyoncé's greatness, could position herself as the pioneer who made Beyoncé possible, could find a way to honor both legacies without feeling diminished, Diana might feel better. Diana might be seen as gracious elder stateswoman rather than bitter legend. Diana might preserve her legacy more effectively by embracing generational continuity rather than resisting it. But Diana has spent 80 years being a certain kind of person, spent 60 years being supreme, spent decades building an identity around being incomparable. Changing that now would require Diana to dismantle her entire sense of self, would require admitting that being supreme wasn't as important as Diana made it, would require valuing graciousness over superiority. Diana probably can't do that. The identity is too deeply embedded. The sacrifices too enormous to admit they might not have been necessary. Berry Gordy is 95 years old now. Berry created the Diana Ross who can't handle not being supreme.
Barry's legacy includes Diana's success and Diana's inability to gracefully step aside. Barry built a machine that required Diana to be the greatest, and now Diana is trapped by that requirement. Barry probably doesn't think about this much. Barry got rich. Barry doesn't have to watch someone younger do what Barry did, but better. Diana does. The comparison between Diana and Beyoncé will continue long after both women are gone. Music historians will debate who was greater. Critics will analyze their contributions. Fans will argue endlessly. And the answer will depend on what you value: pioneering or perfecting, breaking barriers or achieving scale. Some of y'all will always believe Diana is the greatest, will always value what Diana did first over what Beyoncé did bigger. But some of y'all believe Beyoncé is greater, believe that perfecting matters more than pioneering, and that's valid too. What Diana really thinks about Beyoncé is probably what most of us think when we watch someone younger surpass us: a mixture of respect and resentment, acknowledgement and denial, pride in having pioneered and pain at being surpassed. Diana is human. Diana probably feels all of it. And Diana chooses silence because saying any of it out loud would reveal vulnerabilities Diana spent a lifetime hiding. The silence will continue until Diana decides it won't. Maybe someday Diana will surprise everyone. Or maybe Diana will maintain silence until the end, protecting herself from having to acknowledge out loud that someone is more supreme than Diana Ross ever was. Either way, the silence tells the story Diana won't. Do you think Diana Ross should publicly acknowledge Beyoncé's greatness? Or is Diana's silence understandable given everything Diana sacrificed to be supreme? Drop a comment sharing your thoughts on elder legends and new queens. Or tell us about times when you watched someone younger surpass you. Hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss another trip down memory lane.